Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host 𝙒𝙖𝙩𝙤. We apologize for the slight delay. We had some technical difficulties, but we are up and running. Joining me is my co-host 𝗤𝙧𝙤𝙤. This is DGI-393. 𝙤𝙧𝙤, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar, good morning to everybody, or early good evening to you. Wonderful to be back.
Viewers, please like this video. We have some very important breaking events that is going to perhaps change the course of a lot of things moving forward in the next few weeks. So a humble request to all of you who have joined to like this video. Let's start with the American market. 𝙒𝙧𝙤, the Federal Reserve has hinted that it might again raise rates because the market is doing well and the job situation is very good. But overall, the stock market did not like this message, sir.
Good morning to everybody. Once again, I think, thank you so much, Sriji. I think you have expressed the sentiments quite appropriately and adequately. There's a lot of positive economic indicators. The positive economic indicators, first, we started off with the jobs report. The second, we are beginning to see a positive movement in terms of the consumer sentiments, as well as what we call as the independent suppliers and manufacturing report, the ISM November report. ISM November report in terms of the services sector, all showing very positive indicators, except for the ISM delivery index, which is effectively because of the supply chain issues. So when people read this report, there is a strong sentiments and feelings that maybe the economy is doing so well, they may have to revisit the rate of increase in the interest rates. That's a perception. What happens next week will further drive which way the markets are heading, Sriji. There's also another data point, which is to say, originally, if you remember, we reported in DGI, there was a target of 3.5 to 4% in terms of the exit point for the pivot, the Fed rates. That number seems to have climbed to about 5% right now in terms of the target rate at which they will start beginning to see the pivot of the rates. All this play, and the market stumbled after very positive numbers on Monday.
𝙒𝙧𝙤, normally the Federal Reserve will do a modeling. They have a lot of data. America has a lot of data. The organized sector is 95% in my opinion. And still somewhere this model seems to have gone horribly wrong, sir.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the models, G, as you correctly indicated. They are left with no other alternative but other than to apply the monetary tools to work when you have a supply chain issue. Later on in the program, we will cover the sentimental aspect of it or the data point of it. So there's a fear that Fed could push the rate so high that it can push the economy from a positive equilibrium into a recession, an unwarranted recession. Should that be the case, then rising from that recession is going to require a significant amount of fiscal effort. And we are already, sorry, Sriji, let me stop.
Yeah. So sorry, sir. I thought you were finished. Please finish your thoughts, sir.
So fiscal stimulus, and I will pause, and then after you finish, then I'll come back to the last point, Sriji.
𝙒𝙧𝙤, excuse me. The one word on everyone's lips is what happened to the crude agreement between EU and Russia. EU says price cap at $60. What has Russia said, sir?
Basically, very simple. They don't like it, they don't agree with it, and they're not going to follow it. The EU self-tapping itself on its back, which is to say that we're going to hold on, it will work, despite all the criticism and skepticism, we are holding on to $60 a barrel.
And India has indicated that it will continue to buy oil from Russia, and it's basically insulating itself from all this action going on in Western Europe. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. 𝙒𝙧𝙤, get back to the fiscal policy thing, sir. Sorry about that.
No, not at all, Sriji. The fiscal is, you remember the debt ceiling limit that we touched on? So we are at a debt ceiling which is near or thereabouts exceeding the limit that was sanctioned, which was about 31.35 trillion. We have gone past that. So we have a lame duck Congress in session, and they have to increase the debt limit. I am not sure whether there are any sympathizers without extracting some kind of concessions on this frivolous spending that is going on. So there is going to be some issue looming, and what that adds to the economic challenges in terms of already, we have recovered, but we have a fiscal mismanagement and we have a debt ceiling issue that is looming. And remember, once January comes in, there is a new regime, and all the money matters sits with the House, which is in charge of the Republicans. That's the other unknown variable that is sitting there, Sriji.
Sridharji, you segued me automatically into my next topic. Today is the runoff in the state of Georgia for the Senate position, Senate seat, and it is expected, and I wouldn't say that it is going to happen, that the Republicans will retain that seat. And we had predicted this all along because it was a three-way race. The third person was a liberal candidate, and when the liberal steps down, you can expect those votes to go to the Democrat way. Sridharji, a lot of headline, a lot of ink has been written about why a 51-49 majority for the Democrats in the Senate is very important, as opposed to a 50-50. Can you please help us parse this?
51-49 simply implies that they have absolute ability to get past many of the agenda associated with Senate. Remember, Senate has the authority for judicial. So Biden administration can put a lot of judicial reforms into place. But without the House, the fiscal and structural reforms, they cannot change. That has to pass the House vote, where the House controls the majority. So 51-49 gives the opportunity for the Democrats to not bring Kamala Harris into the picture every time when there is a tie. So to that extent, Democrats hold this way in the Senate. But on the monetary side, on the structural reform side, I think the government is divided.
Sridharji, there is one other news doing the rounds. I'm sorry to stay on US because there's so many things that are happening in the US. Two news items, and then we'll go on to other things. First, there is rumor that one of the Democratic senators has switched sides and he has become a Republican and he's going to vote Republican. Is Amit Shah, are the Republican Party doing an Amit Shah on Democrats, sir?
Well, I think there's everything is reliant on their political ecosystem and political landscape in terms of their ability to win the next elections. And there is a lot of negative momentum around the sentiments on the current direction that the Biden administration has pursued. So I will not be surprised if there's few more who switch sides in the interest of preserving their constituency and their own election outcome in the 2024 Sriji.
So the last word has not been said about the Senate position. That's all I wanted to say. And the last one, Sridharji, and I don't know how much you've been following this news. This is very, very worrisome. There is a county in North Carolina called the Moore, Moore County. And this county is about population of 45,000. And this county has gone without electricity for the last 3 days. What happened? 2 power stations were bombed. Not bombed, but somebody shot at some critical parts in a power substation, and both those substations are down. There are many people in the rural areas of this county where they don't have electricity and they don't have water because they use well water, and for them to pull the water from inside the well, they need some basic electricity. There is no farmer, there is no school, there is no government in these places. There are only a few farmer stores that are able to manage with generator. This is being looked at as an act of terrorism. Sridharji, I don't know if you've been following this story, sir.
Very closely following the story. They were targeted and gunned. The substations were gunned down, right? And no identification of the miscreants as yet. The FBI, the police, and the criminal agencies have got into the act. They said they will not rest till they find out who these people are. We don't want to speculate who they can be. This is also, as Sriji pointed out, besides being rural, but it's also, there's some very affluent communities, including the PGA Pinehurst golf course, is located within this community. So they have very carefully chosen a very vulnerable spot, targeted these types of incidents we have not seen or heard, for considerable period of time. We can probably have to go back to the Oklahoma issue. Other than that, we haven't seen, but it is very worrisome, as Sriji pointed out.
Sridharji, this Twitter censoring story on behalf of Joe Biden, this is being, brushed under the carpet by the Biden administration. Viewers, you are, keeping track of the revelations coming on Twitter. We talked about what role Vijaya Gadde played. There was a follow-up that I did wherein James Baker, a former general counsel of the FBI, had then after that joined Twitter, and he was working directly under Vijaya Gadde, and we were exploring if there was a relationship between the Democratic Party through this person to Twitter to try and suppress the Hunter Biden story. So this has been going on. Suddenly now Biden administration saying there is nothing there. Sridharji, this is just the first of a many chaptered revelations from Twitter, sir.
We probably need to do an exclusive DGI on
Yes.
US. Since he has touched on James Baker, the very famous Michael Sussman and this James Baker, they are the ones who apparently implanted the Russia-Trump collaboration into the story going back to 2016 and fed into FBI with a couple of informers. And there was nothing in the story, but it was just planted. And Trump survived that 2016, but right through his tenure, this was dogging him with various kinds of committees established by House, continuing to investigate, as was the case in January 6th investigation, which was done after 2020 elections, which you find that nothing has come out after 2 years of investigations by this. So there is a much, much closer collaboration between the media, most notably Twitter, and the Biden administration. We will soon know whether Biden administration was not involved. At this stage, there is no evidence to point out that there is a direct collaboration between FBI, Twitter, as well as the Biden administration. But the truth will come out very soon, Sriji.
And viewers, this person was eased out of FBI sometime in 2017, but he did not disappear. He was part of one institution or the other in and around the Washington, D.C. Beltway until June 2020, when he joined Twitter as number 2 Vice President of Legal under Vijaya Gadde, who is the Chief Censoring Officer as far as I am concerned. So this is not something that is going to be wished away by this administration. Let us see how far this goes. So please stay tuned. Now, the next news item, Sridharji, is the election farce in Arizona. I know this is going to raise your shackles, sir. Viewers, this is a very strange situation. You have somebody called as the Secretary of State that certifies a state election. I, the Secretary of State of Arizona, hereby declare that X has been declared as the victor in this gubernatorial election. Guess who that X is? The same Secretary of State. Right now, she is the Secretary of State. Now she is going to become the governor, and she declares herself to have won the election when the other side is still contesting it. Sridharji, this is farce.
Well, it is. It didn't stop there. The election certification process requires some of the councillors in the county to unanimously or by majority pass the certification of the result. They exerted tremendous pressure, and these councillors were coerced into certification. Some of them have spoken out. Anyway, to cut the story short, if you talk about the most sophisticated nation in the world, the oldest democracy in the world, here is a classic example when you have left liberals who wield unwieldy power in exercising all types of rights. When they are rested with power in the government, you can see what they can do in terms of democratic processes and democratic outcomes. Arizona and Maricopa County remains the centerpiece of this because it is very publicly advertised, and there is a divided between House and the Senate within the state between Republicans as well as the Democrats. So it's a very sorry state of affairs, and I think we have covered, and I think in Sri G's book also he has talked about, without probably mentioning Arizona, some of the things
No,
that
no,
we
no, no.
have
I
witnessed.
mentioned it, sir. I mentioned it. I mentioned Maricopa also. My biggest disappointment here is, despite doing a fair amount of lobbying for many of the Republican leadership to read this book, many have even acknowledged having got the book. You can get the book. Have you read it? Did you really read it? That is the question, because I am really disappointed that not much changed on the ground as far as Arizona is concerned, Nevada is concerned, Wisconsin, Madison, Pennsylvania. I think only Ohio and Florida, the Republicans seem to have got some things under control. There is still Iowa. I can go on. Unfortunately, there is not enough time to say all these things. Do read my book, Who Painted My State Purple. Sir Sridharji, next topic that I'd like to discuss, sir, is the Iranian government. It says that the widespread protests are being done by the Kurdish supporters, and now I think they have relaxed the burqa law.
I think that they have not relaxed the burqa law. Stage is being set between, go back to the map that we shared with you, the Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Syria, where the Kurdish region is it intersects into western part of Syria, eastern part of Syria. It intersects into the southern part of Turkey. It intersects into northern part of Iran. So what is happening here is usurping a territory and coming up with irrational reasons, which is what Erdogan has came up with. He blamed the Kurdish guerrillas for the issues with the blast in Istanbul. Now, the agitation in Iran, these guys are blaming, and you'll be shocked to find out this Kurds have nothing to do with any of these things. And I can't comment on the Istanbul issue, but certainly on the Iranian side, it seems like it's a covert attempt by these two nations to partition the territory and usurp that land. Why? It is the rich Kirkuk oil region.
And now let's take a quick look at India's growth. World Bank predicts India's GDP will grow at 6.9%. One of the bright spots in the world economy, sir. Sridharji, how much of this has to do with India's decision to keep buying crude from Russia?
It has got much to do with three factors, sir. One is the oil. So they have been able to keep the prices down. Number two is the food. They have done tremendous job in augmenting their food supplies and the logistics and distribution to reach food across the country, because that is another big driver of. Third, they have continued to receive inflows of capital so that the industry can continue to function. Fourth, they have done this what you call as the free trade agreements, which has enabled, at least before this recessionary headwind set in, that to continue to export. So in the process, right through this period, not only the fiscal, but also the supply side, they have been able to manage reasonably well in conjunction with some of the export programs. So India remains a bright spot. And I think I was told that there has been a significant inflow of FDI into the equities markets, which is one of the reasons why the equities markets continues to remain buoyant in India. Once we have the data, we will share. And on one of the on Sunday market data, we will also give you the commodity price year to date, how it has dipped quite dramatically and flowing into helping the inflationary trends. So I think that you have framed it, and I've given you some strategic context, and you can take it away and you can share your observations. You are also very close to the Indian, both political and economic side, better than me, Sriji.
Sridharji, we can say that the RBI governor is not an economist, that the finance minister doesn't have economic credentials, and that the prime minister doesn't have economy. But at the ground, they seem to have some sort of a jugaad that has really helped the prices stay low. I have been in India for months now. I mean, there was a certain amount of impact because of prices, but not to the extent that people will be out on the streets. Like, for instance, this could have been 1973 all over again when OPEC formed and they started suddenly, hiking rates through the roof. The Indira Gandhi government was completely caught off guard, and it was a major mess in India. And somehow this has been very smoothly handled, and we have to wait and see how this plays out in the longer run. I do have a few concerns, but be that as it may be, the country keeps moving forward. The most important thing that I'd like to see is how much India will take advantage of the fact that Apple wants to completely move its production from China to India. See, the challenge there is not that production is just one part. The materials. Apple is a very complicated product. It sources materials from all over the world. What are all the different ways that you can make this thing faster? No kickbacks, no greasing required. All these things. I mean, someone like a czar has to sit in these places to say nobody asks any questions. This starts in 24 hours time. Sridharji, your thoughts on whether this is going to be possible, because this is a huge opportunity. One Apple can turn the fortunes of India.
Well, the technical, I don't know the name of the electronics and communications minister who is who is a master's
Vaishnav.
master's and bachelor's degree in engineering and telecommunications from IIT. Then you also have the Minister of State, who is a Stanford. So they are doing tremendous amount of work from a technology point of view. They understand the nuances of technology. They say clearly understand how to build fab. And obviously, believe it or not, a lot of it is going to, I'm told, one specific state, Orissa, and it's also going into Karnataka. I don't know whether it is going into Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. But certainly it is, they have identified the locations, strategic locations, to build the next generational fab factories, which augurs very well, Sriji, in terms of the policy and the implementation. So those would be my observations to your question that you are posing to me.
Thank you so much, sir. And lastly, Israel and UAE appear to be moving even closer. And this is our last item. Sridharji, please weigh in on this, and then we will wrap up today, sir.
Well, I think the Israel situation is that they have basically indicated that the Israeli president was in UAE, has agreed that the Abrahamic Accords are in place and they will honor. There is a unilateral or universal support between the Arab and the Jewish population, which augurs very well because, again, Israel seems to be trying to choose a course of non-confrontation and economic agenda. Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been mandated to or invited to form the government, has asked for 2 weeks of time, which the exiting regime has said the president should not be given the 2 weeks. He should come to the Israeli parliament and basically, establish his credentials that he has the majority to conduct. So it's been interesting times in Israel as they kind of transition the government. And Benjamin Netanyahu, he is very badly needed in Israel for a wide range of reasons because of the very volatile situation Middle East is in.
Thank you very much, Sridharji. And viewers, will be back again on Thursday with more breaking news. We hope that you like this program. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. If you would like to donate, please do so using the super thanks button. There is a heart-shaped symbol wherever you are watching your video. Right there, if you click on that, you can donate from anywhere in the world. Thank you once again, Sridharji, and we'll be back again on Thursday. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.